So last week we talked about how a bill becomes a law, and we're going to continue that process and talk about the Constitution and the three branches of government that kind of helps develop the process of how a bill becomes a law. So, as you can see, we have three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. The Constitution is written up ahead because it's kind of the overseer, I guess, of the three branches. So we're first going to start talking about the legislative branch. So before we start talking about it, does anybody have any ideas of what the legislative branch does? Well, the easiest way for me to remember, or to help you memorize, that legislative, L, means makes laws. So L, easy. So the three key actors in the legislative branch are the Senate, House of Representatives, and Congress. So pretty much what happens is the Senate, House of Representatives, and the Congress all meet together. They say, look, we have a great idea. Let's make it a law. So we're going to take this idea and say, let's bring it over to the executive branch. So the executive branch consists of the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. And their role is that the executive branch carries out the laws. So they're going to get the idea that the legislative branch made. They're going to say, okay, this is a great idea. Let's take it to the judicial branch. And let's go back a little bit before we jump to the judicial branch. The cabinet is made up of people that the president chooses. So the president is elected into a term. He wants X amount of people to help back up his ideas. So they're just a group of people that the president will meet with and say, look, I have this idea. I need you to back me up on it, etc. So once they carry out the law, it's going to go to the judicial. And the judicial branch says, okay, great. The legislative branch made a law. The executive branch carried out it. And now, let's say it's going to be a great law and they're going to evaluate it. So the judicial branch is what you can kind of think of. I think of judge. You can kind of think of a courtroom. So we have the Supreme Court. And other federal courts. And they're going to meet and say that, okay, we have this great law, and we're going to put our stamp of approval on it. And that's how it kind of works, that we have these three branches working together. So, power. When we think of the three branches of government, how do we evaluate power with them? How does the legislative branch have more power over the judicial, and maybe the executive branch has more power over the legislative? But we do have something that will kind of help with separation of powers. Does everybody have this before I erase? Let's erase the executive branch and the judicial. So, like I kind of said, we have this thing called separation of powers. And the separation of powers acts as a check and a balance. So the checks and balances process make sure that one branch does not have power over another. Each branch can oversee each other, so to make sure that they're all in line and at the same pace together. Does anybody have any questions over that material that we just talked about? Okay, so for our homework assignment, last week we discussed about how a bill becomes a law, like I've already said. So we're going to say that we have an idea, and we have this statement, a law. We want to make it a bill. So we're going to make a map on how a bill becomes a law. So please list me steps of how a bill becomes a law.